All right, well, hello everyone and happy Monday. Happy Cinco de Mayo to all that celebrate. It is Digital Host A.J. Wuest here, welcoming you back to Before the Four, the live stream where I go through some of 48's top news stories and then some before our 4 o'clock newscast. This is the first Before the Four where we will now be streaming for 15 minutes instead of 30 minutes. And I just want to let you all watching at home know that is due to the fast cast that we are now starting. If you guys were watching the fast cast right at 3 o'clock, we are now starting that. But welcome everyone once again to Before the Four. Now we have quite a bit to jump into in a quite short amount of time, so I say let's begin. And let's begin this afternoon in DeKalb County, where an Ider police officer was involved in a shooting last night. Now, authorities say Ider police responded to Highway 75 just after 10 last night, where they had heard reports of a shooting. As an Ider police officer was working to gather information on the situation, the person he was talking to failed to comply, but became erratic and pulled a gun on the officer. Officials say gunfire was exchanged between the two until the suspect was shot in the hand. He was later taken to an area hospital for treatment. Now, officials added that the suspect was not the caller, but he was somehow involved in the altercation at the home which initiated the call. And 48 Savannah Sap will have more regarding this situation coming up in our evening newscasts. But now moving out to Madison County, the final of the 3 suspects who pled guilty to the murder of a grandmother in 2019 was sentenced earlier today. Caleb Holden, who you see on screen, along with Adrian Lopez and Quentin Courtney, were arrested for the shooting murder of 72-year-old Diane Ballard in Ardmore. All 3 men were charged with capital murder and first-degree robbery. Now, investigators say the 3 went into Ballard's home for a drug transaction, and an investigator on the case says Holden went to the house and spent nearly 30 minutes looking at the drugs. Holden then left the room, and that's when Courtney and Lopez came in with rifles. Ballard attempted to defend her home by pulling out a gun, but she was shot multiple times. Now, Holden pled guilty to felony murder and robbery. Today, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison. And of course, staying in Madison County, earlier today, a former Huntsville City Schools employee was sentenced to 10 years in prison after pleading guilty to having sex with a student last week. Dwayne Yarbrough worked as a JROTC instructor at Lee and New Century High Schools. He worked for Huntsville City Schools from July of 2016 to October of 2022. He will now begin his 10-year sentence. And retired Lieutenant Colonel Karen Savaria shared a message after he took the guilty plea. Take a listen.
His decision to accept a plea deal was not an admission of guilt, but a selfless act of love to protect his family from the pain of a prolonged trial and a possible 30-year sentence. I know firsthand, both as a parent of 2 children that he taught and as a former program manager for the Army Reserve Sexual Harassment, Assault, Response and Prevention Program, that First Sergeant Yarbrough is a man of integrity, compassion, and genuine care.
And she went on to say Yarbrough served our country for more than 20 years and hopes this sentence does not diminish it. But now let's turn over to the weather with everything you can expect for this week. 48 First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis is here with the latest he's seeing on the radar. Brad?
A few spotty sprinkles possible out there as we go through the rest of the day today. We'll continue to watch a few clouds come in. Right now, not a bad day, though. Live view from East Limestone. It's 67 degrees. It's been quite a bit cooler out there. Pretty good day just to kind of go for a cruise on the lake, I guess. Do a little fishing out there. Here's a look at the next 12 hours. Temperatures will be in the mid-60s most of the evening and then fall down into the low 50s. So another chilly start tomorrow morning. Where we get breaks in the clouds, that is where we will see the fog potential out there. And again, hour by hour here, 6 o'clock this evening, might briefly warm up to the upper 60s and may hit 70 in a few places before it's all said and done. But then we quickly cool down overnight tonight. Some upper 40s to start the day, passing clouds. The clouds will get a little bit thicker late in the day, but here's the lunch hour tomorrow. Absolutely fantastic. Looking at highs around 76 degrees, maybe even close to 80 out in the shoals. And then the pattern comes back where we get more rain, showers and storms overnight Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Quick look at the satellite today. We continue to see this upper level cutoff low to the north, but the energy just out to the west in Texas, that's what's going to move in tomorrow night. So over the next 3 days, enjoy tomorrow. It's the nicest day of the week. Scattered showers, probably more likely in the morning through about noon Wednesday. Staying cloudy the rest of the day, highs around 69. And then Thursday, back to 77. But overall, we're still looking at a chance for showers.
Well, certainly good to know. Thank you, Brad. And now a story, in case you missed it, regarding student loans. 48 Sarah Grace Kennedy earlier today spoke with a concerned UAH graduate about the federal government making the executive decision to collect default student loans, which of course went into effect today after a 5-year pause. Sarah Grace Kennedy reports.
One recent University of Alabama Huntsville graduate tells me he's concerned about now having to pay back his loans. He graduated in December of 2023 and is now 6 months behind on his student loan payments.
So now with the collection discussion, I guess I'm looking back to see if I can start paying them back or see if I could just make lower payments so I could try to survive in this economy without eating ramen every day.
Borrowers who don't pay back their loans could have their wages and tax returns garnished. They were notified about 2 weeks ago that student debt collections would resume on May 5th.
A lot of the policies in general that have been happening has been kind of a rush. I don't know how well this will all go.
Marsha Burke of Huntsville tells me that she thinks it's about time that people start paying back their loans.
It's a responsibility and accountability issue with me. And I understand that a lot of people don't want to go into a field that is not right or what they really want. But having done that myself for a couple of years, it's like you can get through this.
Burke graduated from a private college in 1979 when unemployment was high. She told me how it took her a few years before she could find a job in her field. Burke even worked a minimum wage job after graduating.
One of the reasons that I had trouble finding a job was the economy. So it was a difficult time. I mean, we had, like I said, just barely making a living, but we knew we had bills we had to pay.
Burke says that she sees history repeating itself, but feels everyone needs to pay their fair share.
And now moving over to Marshall County, where over the weekend, a well-loved member of the community sadly passed away. James Hutchinson served as the longtime commission chairman in Marshall County. He passed away Saturday morning at the age of 78. And 48's Noah Cowell has his life and legacy.
James Hutchison died on Saturday morning at the age of 78. Leading the Marshall County Commission since 2010, Hutchison is described by his former coworkers as tough and resilient in his job, yet friendly and caring to the people impacted by his work.
He didn't need that job, but the job needed him. Marshall County needed him.
Rhonda McCoy worked as Hutchison's assistant during his whole time as chairman. She says she saw him accomplish some things previous county leaders couldn't. She remembers him fighting to get a new bridge built near Double Bridges and his passion to get the first animal shelter in Marshall County up and running.
He cared about the county as a whole, not just, it was never because he wanted his name to be chairman. He wanted to make a difference and make it better, and he did that.
McCoy says Hutchison's legacy is reflected in his accomplishments and his work ethic. Sheriff Phil Sims agrees.
If he was sick, he came to work. He wanted to be there in case someone come by to see him, in case someone needed something. He wanted to make sure he was there. So that was one standout quality he has. He loved the county. He loved doing the job he was doing. He loved helping people.
McCoy says even as Hutchison battled cancer and knew his time was coming to an end, he still wanted to serve as much of his last term that he could. She believes his family hasn't fully processed that he's gone, but they know he's in a better place.
It's hard watching someone that you love suffer when you know how strong they are and you know you can't fix them. And they know where he is. I think God allowed him to go out of this world exactly the way he wanted to.
And he will certainly be greatly missed. And now just into our newsroom, we just learned this afternoon that Franklin County District 1 Commissioner Michael Murray sadly passed away yesterday. Now, we learned this information from Franklin County Commission Chairman Barry Moore. He confirmed the news to us this afternoon. We are not sure of a cause of death at this time, but Murray was sworn into the county commission back in November of 2024. After about 6 months in office, he passed away yesterday at the age of 51. Now, this is all the information we have on this situation at this time, but stay tuned for our evening newscasts for more. But now let's turn over to an update to that fiery work session out of Decatur last week that led to multiple arrests. Decatur City Council President Jacob Ladner has announced that public comment at City Council meetings will be paused for the next 2 weeks. Now, Ladner added, quote, "I remain committed to finding the best way to hear for our residents while ensuring that meetings are orderly, respectful, and productive for all involved," end quote. Now, 6 were arrested last week after that meeting got fiery between the City Council and local advocacy group Standing in Power. The group expressed their thoughts about the recent arrest of John Scott Jr., who was suffering with a medical condition which ultimately led to his death. But now let's turn over to the good side. And today we're highlighting one trombone player at the New Orleans Jazz Fest who has a lot to be grateful for when he steps on stage. He goes by Miracle Mo, and he credits his life to the quick action of bystanders during the scariest moments of his life. Maddie Kurth explains how he always keeps the beat. Take a look.
This is our Super Bowl, you know, for musicians, for music lovers alike. I mean, we get to do this every year, and it's awesome.
On the festival stage with Rockin' Doopsie, Maurice Trosclair stays on his toes.
You know, you got to be prepared for any moment when he tells you to blow.
Each slide of his trombone aligned with the beat of his heart, keeping perfect time. But 8 years ago, the music stopped. Trosclair was at work when he suffered a sudden cardiac arrest, his heart stopping seconds after he got on an elevator.
It's a situation where you basically just die.
The doors opened on his lifeless body a few floors up, where a nurse happened to be waiting. She started CPR until EMS arrived with a defibrillator.
It's what they call a near-perfect chain of survival.
If nothing happened in that moment, Trosclair said he wouldn't have survived. But with citizen first responders who knew what to do,
that gives people like myself a second chance.
Trosclair took his new lease on life and created a nonprofit called Heartbeat NOLA. It's placed more than 15 defibrillators in music venues and event spaces across New Orleans.
I look every time, everywhere. And when I don't see one, it makes me uncomfortable.
3 years after his heart stopped, the Trosclairs sold their home and went on a journey.
22,000 miles.
Setting off for California.
We were in Yosemite.
And the unthinkable happened. Maurice went into sudden cardiac arrest again.
But my wife knew what to do, and she was the first one to give me chest compressions.
I know I have to get to the center of his chest and push hard and fast in the center of his chest to the beat of Staying Alive, and just keep that going until someone brings you a defibrillator.
Cal Fire was nearby and shocked him back to life.
Cardiac arrest is like a light switch that goes off in your body. That electricity that sparks the heart just shuts off like a light switch. Very often there are no signs.
The numbers are staggering. Only 1 in 10 people survive an out-of-hospital sudden cardiac arrest. And I survived 2. Nothing I did, okay, is all because of citizen first responders.
Now they call him Miracle Mo. And this year at Jazz Fest, the beat goes on.
Now every gig, every song, every note I play, it's really a thank you to these people who saved my life, twice.
From the festival stage.
This is so blessed to be here and so grateful.
Maddie Kurth, Fox 8, Local First.
That is so awesome. And now let's head into the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscast. A meeting in Madison where city leaders are working to decide whether or not to keep fluoride in their water. 48's Faith Delp will be there tonight. Stay tuned for that. Following up on a fire in Florence where firefighters rescued 3 pets from a burning house. 48's Aria Pons will have that story. And finally, Governor Kay Ivey was in town today. Hear everything she had to say today in Huntsville coming up in our evening newscast. And these are just a few of the stories you're just not going to want to miss. And now, of course, it is time for Facebook Fun. Our 48 Facebook question of the day: what sound instantly annoys you? And I can think of quite a few sounds that annoy me. Nails on the chalkboard is definitely one of them. Squeaking, I do not like too much squeaking. Smacking, especially if you're chewing gum, yeah, I'm not a big fan of all that. But let's see what you all had to say. What sound instantly annoys you? Let's see. Amy said alarm clock. Absolutely. That is probably at the top of my list, especially when I do not want to wake up on a Monday morning. You hear that alarm clock, it is the bane of my existence, 100%. Michelle said men grunting and screaming at the gym. Michelle, that's how you know you got a good workout in. Come on. No, I can definitely understand that. Melanie, cell phones on speakerphone in public. Yes. Show some courtesy. Take your phone off speaker, hold it up to your ear. Yes, show some respect and courtesy. I can understand that. Let's see, gum popping. I feel that 100%. And I feel like we missed one. I think I was talking when it was going on. Angela said metal against metal scraping. I can see how that would be a very annoying sound as well. Really anything scraping against something else. Chewing, that was a very popular comment. Chewing and smacking, they kind of go hand in hand. So that was a popular comment that you all had to say. But that is just about all the time I have for today's Before the Four. Thank you all for sticking around and spending a bit of your Monday afternoon here, starting your week off here with Before the Four. I hope you all have a great night. Enjoy tonight's evening newscast. Watch Weather Extra with Brad Travis tonight at 9:30, wherever you're watching Before the Four right now. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You all have a good night.